Get kids in today's world to care about what happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, when they move so fast and history they believe it's static, it happened, it's done. But the key for me is how do we make it dynamic? And the only way you can really do that in my mind is to create empathy. How do you take a 16-year-old at Mount Doug High School and put him into a 16-year-old's shoes in 1914 who wants to go to war? He can't wait to go to war, where his biggest fear is that the war will be over before he ever gets there. This was sparked for me in a big part with Joseph Boyden's 3-Day Road, and the book follows two Cree soldiers, Elijah and Xavier, who make the decision to join the Canadian Army and go off on an adventure. The book also shows their background of residential schools, and it also shows what came of them, the struggles of the stress of war, and it brings in drug addiction and the loss of sanity. Now, as the kids read that book, they empathize with the characters, and then we can slide the history in and saying these are the contexts that they made these decisions in, very much like the context you're living in, and we debate how it's changed for them, and often they find out that the context hasn't changed all that much. We're still struggling with the same decisions. It's not going off to war, it might be going off to university or traveling the world or not going to university. So it allows them to draw parallels between someone who lived 100 years ago, a fictional character 100 years ago, and then we base them on real characters. And the kids dive in and they learn to love history. And they want to know more and more and more. Projects, my personal approach is project-based learning, and I've just a few years ago finished my master's degree based in that area. But the school's always done projects, and it's been a collaborative thing where I have an idea in a project that I think would be great, and I'm all excited, so I go see my colleague down the hall, and I say, look at this great idea, and he says, maybe I'll try that one, but he tries it, but then puts his spin on it, and brings it back to me and said, I tried this idea, I may or may not like it, and then build on it again, and then give it to somebody else, and these projects build over time, and they're continually morphing into new ideas. Sometimes the projects go by the wayside, that we said, well, we've run with it as far as we can, and it didn't go where we want to. And some of them explode into just amazing collages, like the one I have behind me, where we don't know where it's going. We're only 2 years into it, and the potential is unlimited where it could go. But this is all done with colleagues, and it's collective creativity. One of the challenges in Social Studies 11 in British Columbia is when they brought in a provincial exam. And the provincial exam required a base level of factual content. And as that came in, we really struggled here. And how can we keep our course, which is exciting, it explores the kids in their world, how do we keep that vibrant learning in a course that potentially could be driven by an exam? And what we found out is rather than focusing on the exam, if we structured our assignments so the kids delved deeply into it and they owned it, the factual content just came along for the ride. Our results are phenomenal on the provincial exam, and we don't even really worry about the provincial exam. It's something that they just have to do. They do well at it, and they do these great projects. And for us, it was a huge struggle. How do we include factual content with the cool ideas and projects that we already did? And what we found out is that if the kids buy into the projects, the factual stuff just comes along with it. One of the challenges in going with a project-based approach is it's not a traditional approach. And a lot of parents want their children to get the facts, get the highest possible scores as they can, and then move on. And when they see their son or daughter coming home with these ideas that are out of the box, and their son or daughter are struggling with thinking with ideas or projects that have no right answers, the parents will often call up and say, what's going on? Why are they doing this? What's the point? And my answer is they're learning at a deeper level than they have in a long time. They're learning skills they'll need when they leave secondary school, because these problems have no solutions. They're creating at the top level. They're synthesizing new ideas, and for the most part the parents go, wow, that's great. I never really looked at it that way. Some of the parents saying, how are they going to do on the exam? One of the things to see students, when students buy into the course idea of project-based learning, is after the first or second projects, when they see the results of their work and their peers' work, that it's the quality and the depth is usually higher than anything they've ever done in school before. And they look at that and they stand back and they say, if it's an individual thing, it's, wow, I produced that. Or if it's a collaborative thing, wow, we produce that. And I've never produced something like it before. It's absolutely unique. It's at the highest level of the educational learning spectrums. And I was a part of that. And at that point, it happens, and usually in the first or second project, the third projects are spectacular because the kids have now bought in and they're saying anything's possible. And they're my ideas. You know, over the years, I'm into my 13th year of teaching. I've had a lot of students who come and go, and many of them who come back, and many who I stay in contact with constantly. And the one thing they say that's consistent is that they're glad they survived the course. They call it a rite of passage. It's the social studies rite of passage. But the skills, not the projects, but the skills and the critical thinking skills that were developed and honed and discovered have served them so well in their careers, whatever they are. They're able to look at things in so many in different ways that they've found that it's helped them advance through university or through companies, because they can sit around at a table and talk with people and say, well, let's look at it a different way and come up with a new idea. And that's the one constant that I get is thanks for helping me think, to use the cliche, outside the box.